The hall was cold. It was always cold in the Galactic War Academy. The walls were made of dark metal, and the lights above gave everything a blue glow. Una stood in the center of the great chamber, her hands behind her back, her spine straight. She was small compared to the beings that surrounded her. She was human. The council sat on elevated platforms, looking down at her like she was an insect. There were 7 of them. Each one came from a different world. Each one had fought in wars that lasted centuries. Each one believed they knew everything about combat. The first council member was Warren. He was tall, nearly 3 meters, with gray skin that looked like stone. His species came from a planet where gravity was twice as strong as Earth. They were born with bones like iron and muscles that could crush metal. He looked at Una with something close to pity. The second was Myra. She had 4 arms and eyes that could see in complete darkness. Her people were hunters. They moved without sound and killed without mercy. She tilted her head as she studied the human girl. The third was Kel. He had no face that Una could understand. Just a smooth surface with lights that blinked when he spoke. His kind communicated through vibrations and electricity. They did not understand fear or pain the way other species did. There were 4 others. All different. All powerful. All looking at Una like she did not belong. And maybe she did not. Una was 23 years old. She had traveled across the galaxy to reach this academy. It took her family everything they had to send her here. Her mother sold their small farm on Earth. Her father worked double shifts in the mining colonies until his body gave out. Her younger brother, Tay, gave up his own dream of becoming a pilot so she could have this chance. She carried their sacrifice with her every day. It sat on her shoulders like a weight she could never put down. The head of the council, an ancient being named Orin, finally spoke. His voice was deep and slow, like rocks grinding together. Una of Earth, he said, you have completed the entrance examinations. Yes, she replied. Her voice did not shake. She would not let it. Your scores and strategy were acceptable. Your knowledge of galactic history was impressive. Your understanding of weapons and technology was adequate. Una waited. She knew there was more coming. However, Orin continued, your physical examinations were disappointing. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. You are human, Orin said. His stone face showed no emotion. Your bones are fragile. Your skin tears easily. You cannot run as fast as the Kalari. You cannot see as well as the Nyx. You cannot survive in extreme temperatures like my people can. I understand my limitations, Una said. Do you? Myra leaned forward. Her 4 arms moved in a strange pattern. In real combat, limitations mean death. Not just for you, but for everyone who depends on you. I have trained. Training is not enough, Kel interrupted. The lights on his face blinked rapidly. We have trained thousands of species. We know what works. We know what does not. Humans. He paused. Humans are not built for war. Una felt anger rising in her chest, but she pushed it down. Getting emotional would only prove their point. With respect, she said carefully, humans have fought wars for thousands of years. We have survived ice ages, plagues, famines, and disasters. We are still here. Fighting among yourselves is not the same as fighting in galactic conflicts, Orin said. Your species has been part of the greater galaxy for only 50 years. You do not understand what true war looks like. Then teach me. The council members looked at each other. Some of them made sounds that might have been laughter. We have developed training methods over 10,000 years, Orin said. These methods are designed for species with natural advantages: speed, strength, enhanced senses, natural armor. Humans have none of these things. We adapt, Una said. Adaptation takes generations. You do not have that time. Then I will adapt faster. Another pause. More looks exchanged between the council members. Finally, Myra spoke again. We are not rejecting you entirely human. We are offering you a different path. You can study in our medical division, or our logistics department, or our communications center. These are important roles. Many species serve the academy in these ways. Yuna understood what they were really saying. They wanted her to accept a lesser position. They wanted her to give up her dream of becoming a warrior. They wanted her to know her place. She thought about her mother, standing in the empty field where their farm used to be. She thought about her father, coughing blood in the medical center because the mining dust had destroyed his lungs. She thought about Tay, watching ships fly overhead, knowing he would never pilot one himself. They had given everything so she could stand in this room, and these aliens wanted her to clean floors and count supplies. No. Yuna said that the council fell silent. I did not come here to hide in a safe room while others fight. I came here to learn how to protect my people. How to protect humanity. Your people are protected by the Galactic Alliance, Oren said. You do not need to fight. The Alliance protects us because we are useful to them. Because we mine resources and build things and do the work that other species find beneath them. Yuna's voice grew stronger. What happens when we are no longer useful? What happens when another species decides they want our planet? Who will fight for us then? No one answered. I thought so, Yuna said. You talk about protecting the galaxy, but you only protect those who can protect themselves. You look at humans and see weakness. You see something to pity, something to manage, something to keep in a box. You are being emotional, Kel said. I am being honest. There's a difference. She looked at each council member in turn. She wanted them to remember her face. You say your training methods are designed for species with natural advantages. But what about species without those advantages? What about the small and the fragile and the soft? Do they not deserve to fight for their survival? They can serve in other ways, Myra said. Service is not the same as power. And you know it. The chamber was completely quiet now. Yuna could hear her own heartbeat. Your teachings are old, she continued. 10,000 years old, you said. Maybe they were good once. Maybe they worked for the species that came before. But the galaxy is changing. New species are joining. New threats are appearing. And your old methods will not save us. You speak of things you do not understand, Vorn growled. I understand that you are afraid. Not of me, of what I represent. If a weak human can become a warrior, then your entire system falls apart. All your rules about who is worthy and who is not. All your beliefs about strength and power. If I succeed, it means you have been wrong for 10,000 years. She paused, and you cannot accept that. Oren raised one massive hand. The other council members fell silent. You are young, he said slowly. You are passionate. These are not bad qualities. But passion without discipline is dangerous. Courage without skill is suicide. Then give me discipline. Give me skill. We cannot. Our methods will not work for you. Your body will break before you complete even the basic training. You will die, and your death will serve no purpose. Yuna stared at him for a long moment. She saw the truth in his eyes. He was not being cruel. He genuinely believed what he was saying. To him, this was mercy. But mercy could be just as limiting as cruelty. Then I will find another way, she said. There is no other way. The Academy's teachings are the only recognized combat doctrines in the Alliance. Then I will create a way that is not recognized. She turned and began walking toward the door. If you leave now, Mira called after her, you will not be welcome back. This is your only chance. Yuna stopped. She did not turn around. "You are wrong," she said. "This is your only chance. Your chance to see humans as more than workers and servants. Your chance to teach someone who actually wants to learn. Your chance to admit that maybe, just maybe, you do not have all the answers." She looked over her shoulder. "You are the ones who failed today, not me." And then she walked out of the chamber. The door closed behind her with a heavy sound. She stood in the empty hallway, her heart pounding, her hands shaking. The reality of what she had just done began to sink in. She had rejected the most powerful military academy in the galaxy. She had insulted beings that could destroy her with a single blow. She had thrown away the sacrifice her family had made. For what? Pride? Stubbornness? No, for something more important. For the belief that she was worth more than they thought. That humanity was worth more. She did not know how she would become a warrior. She did not know where she would train or who would teach her. She did not know if she would survive the path ahead, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She would never let anyone tell her what she was capable of. She would never accept someone else's limits as her own. She would forge her own path, her own methods, her own destiny, even if she had to write it in her own blood. Una straightened her shoulders and walked down the empty hallway. Behind her, the academy continued its ancient work, teaching its ancient lessons to species that fit its ancient molds. Ahead of her, the galaxy waited, full of danger, full of opportunity, full of beings who had not yet learned what a human could do. She smiled. They would learn soon enough. Outside the ship, the stars continued to burn. Distant suns, ancient and indifferent, casting light on a universe that did not care about one small human woman. But Colony Hannah 7 was burning. Una could see the smoke from space, rising in thick black columns from the surface. The colony was small, just a few thousand people living in dome structures on a barren moon. They were farmers mostly, growing food in artificial environments for the larger stations nearby. They were also completely defenseless. The raiders had come without warning. 3 ships, larger than anything the colony had, armed with weapons that could turn buildings into ash. They had demanded everything: food, supplies, fuel, even people. The colony's leader had tried to negotiate. The raiders had responded by destroying the main power station. Now they were taking what they wanted by force. Una had heard the distress signal while passing through the sector. Her ship, the Broken Wing, was old and slow, but its communication system still worked. The message was full of static and screaming. "Please, anyone. They are killing us. Please help." She should have kept flying. She was not a soldier. She was not part of any military force. She had no duty to these people, no connection to them. Trying to help would probably get her killed. But she thought of her father, working in the mines until his body broke. She thought of her mother, selling everything they owned. She thought of Tay, giving up his dreams. They had sacrificed everything so she could become something more than a worker, something more than a victim. If she flew away now, what was the point? She turned her ship toward the colony. The landing was rough. The colony's main port had been destroyed, so Una had to set down in an open field outside the dome. She grabbed her weapons, 2 knives strapped to her thighs, 2 energy pistols on her belt. She had no armor, no shield, no backup plan, just herself and 18 months of training that nobody believed in. She ran toward the nearest dome entrance. The air outside was thin and cold, barely breathable without equipment. The raiders had damaged the colony's atmosphere generators, and the domes were slowly losing air. If she did not move fast, everyone inside would suffocate. The entrance was guarded by a single raider. He was tall, with green skin and 4 eyes that scanned the area constantly. His species was known for their reflexes, able to react to threats faster than most creatures in the galaxy. Yuna did not give him time to react. She came from the shadows, moving low and fast. Her knife found the gap in his armor, the soft spot where his neck met his shoulder. He made a wet sound and fell. First blood. She stepped over his body and entered the dome. Inside was chaos. People were running, screaming, trying to hide. Raiders moved through the streets, grabbing supplies and dragging colonists toward their ships. The air smelled like smoke and fear. Yuna counted 7 raiders in her immediate view. All of them were armed. All of them were larger and stronger than her. The Academy's teachings would have told her to wait for backup, to find a defensive position, to fight only when she had the advantage. But the Academy's teachings were designed for species that could afford to wait. Humans could not. She moved. The first raider saw her coming but could not believe what he was seeing. A human? Running toward him? By the time his brain processed the information, her knife was already in his chest. The second raider turned at the sound of his companion falling. Yuna's pistol spoke twice, and he joined his friend on the ground. The third was smarter. He raised his weapon and fired. Yuna was already moving, diving behind a food stall, rolling, coming up in a different position. The raider's shots went wide. Her shots did not. 3 down. 4 left. The remaining raiders finally understood what was happening. They stopped their looting and turned toward her, weapons raised, spreading out to surround her. This was the part where she should have died. 4 against 1, with no cover, no support, no hope. But hope was a luxury. She had learned to fight without it. She grabbed a smoke grenade from her belt, one she had made herself from salvaged parts. It exploded in a cloud of white fog filling the street. The raiders could not see. But Yuna had trained in darkness. She had trained blind. She did not need to see. She listened. Footsteps to her left. Heavy breathing to her right. The sound of a weapon charging directly ahead. She moved through the smoke like a ghost, striking at sounds, at movements, at the tiny vibrations in the air that told her where danger was. Her knives found flesh. Her pistols found targets. When the smoke cleared, 4 more raiders lay on the ground. 7 down. But there were more in the other domes. Yuna kept moving. The next 2 hours were the longest of her life. She went from dome to dome, hunting raiders like they were the prey, and she was the predator. She used every trick she had learned, every technique she had developed, every bit of pain and training and desperation that had built her into what she was. She took wounds. A shot grazed her shoulder. A blade cut her arm. A heavy blow cracked 2 of her ribs, the same ribs she had broken before. The pain was enormous, but pain was familiar now. Pain was just information telling her she was still alive. By the end, 23 raiders lay dead throughout the colony. The survivors had fled to their ships and escaped into space. They would tell stories about what had happened here. Stories about a human woman who moved like death itself. Yuna sat in the main square, her back against a broken fountain. Her wounds were bleeding. Her body was screaming. She could barely breathe through the pain in her ribs, but she was smiling. Around her, colonists began to emerge from their hiding places. They looked at the bodies on the ground. They looked at the small human woman who had killed them. They did not understand what they were seeing. An old man approached her. His clothes were torn, and there was blood on his face, but his eyes were clear. "Who are you?" he asked. Yuna looked up at him. "Nobody important." Nobody important does not kill 20 raiders alone. Maybe not. She tried to stand but failed. Her legs would not support her. Could use some help, though. The old man called for others. They came quickly, carrying medical supplies and water. Someone brought a stretcher. Hands lifted her gently, carefully, like she was something precious. "You saved us," a woman whispered. "You saved all of us." "Not all," Yuna said. She had seen the bodies on her way through the domes. colonists who had not made it, families torn apart, children who would never grow up. I was too slow. You came. That is more than anyone else did. Una did not respond. She let them carry her to a medical station, let them treat her wounds, let them give her water and food. She was too tired to argue. As she lay on the medical bed, drifting in and out of consciousness, she heard voices around her. People talking about what had happened. Talking about her. Did you see how fast she moved? She killed 7 in the first dome alone. 7. The Academy graduates could not do what she did. I saw them freeze when the attack started. That last voice made Una open her eyes. Academy graduates? A young man stood nearby. He looked embarrassed. There were 2 of them here. They came to inspect our farming operations. When the raiders attacked, they said we should wait for Alliance military support. They said fighting would only make things worse. Where are they now? Hiding in the emergency bunker. They locked themselves in when the shooting started. Una laughed. It hurt her ribs, but she could not stop. 2 Academy graduates, trained by the best military minds in the galaxy, had hidden while a self-taught human did their job. The irony was almost too much. Can someone get them for me? She asked. The young man nodded and left. A few minutes later, 2 figures entered the medical station. One was from Vaughn species, tall and stone-skinned. The other had 4 arms like Mira. They wore Academy uniforms, clean and untouched. They looked at Una with a mixture of shame and disbelief. You are the one who fought? The stone-skinned one asked. Yes, but you are human. Last time I checked. The 4-armed one stepped forward. We were taught that direct engagement with superior numbers was tactically inadvisable. We were following protocol. Protocol let people die. The Academy's methods are wrong. Una forced herself to sit up, ignoring the pain. Your teachers told you that fighting was about numbers and statistics and tactical advantages. But it is not. Fighting is about will. About deciding that you would rather die standing than live kneeling. She looked at both of them, holding their eyes. You have strength. You have training. You have every advantage in the galaxy. But you do not have courage. And without courage, all your advantages mean nothing. The 2 Academy graduates said nothing. What could they say? The evidence of their failure was all around them. The bodies in the streets. The survivors who had seen them hide. Tell your council what happened here, Una said. Tell them that a human woman did what their graduates could not. Tell them that their methods failed and mine worked. They will not believe us, the 4-armed one said. Then I will show them myself. When I am ready. She lay back down and closed her eyes. The conversation was over. The graduates left. The colonists stayed, tending to her, protecting her, treating her like the hero they believed she was. But Una did not feel like a hero. Heroes saved everyone. Heroes arrived in time. Heroes did not let innocent people die. She was just a woman who had been pushed too far. A woman who had learned that the galaxy was cruel and unfair and did not care. The cargo ship was old. Its hull was covered in patches and repairs. The engines made strange sounds when they started, and the lights flickered whenever someone walked too hard on the floor. It was called the Broken Wing, and it was the only home Una had now. She had found it in the junkyards of Station 12, a floating city at the edge of Alliance space. The station was full of refugees, criminals, and people who had nowhere else to go. It smelled like oil and sweat and desperation. It was perfect for someone who wanted to disappear. Una had used the last of her money to buy the ship. It barely flew, but it had enough space in its cargo hold for what she needed. A training area. A place to bleed without anyone watching. 3 months had passed since she walked out of the academy. 3 months of living on scraps and sleeping in cold corners. 3 months of wondering if she had made the worst mistake of her life. But she had not stopped. She could not stop. Every day, she trained. She ran through the narrow corridors of the ship until her lungs burned. She did exercises until her muscles screamed. She practiced movements she had read about in old combat manuals, stolen from data archives that nobody protected anymore. The training was brutal. There was no teacher to correct her form, no doctor to heal her injuries, no voice to tell her she was doing well. Only pain, only exhaustion, only the endless question, is this enough? She did not know the answer. One night, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Una was lying on the floor of the cargo hold, covered in sweat, unable to move. She had pushed herself too hard again. Every part of her body ached. Una? The voice was familiar, young, worried. She forced herself to stand and stumbled to the console. "Tay," she said. Her voice was rough. Her brother's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired. There were dark circles under his eyes, and his hair was messy. But when he saw her, he smiled. "You look terrible," he said. "Thanks. You look worse. I have been working double shifts. The mining company needs more workers. There was an accident last week." Una felt a twist in her stomach. "Are you okay?" "I am fine. I was not there when it happened." He paused. "But father, he is getting worse." The twist became a knife. Una gripped the console harder. "How bad?" "The doctors say he has maybe a year. Maybe less." Tay's voice was steady, but she could see the pain in his eyes. "He asks about you every day. He wants to know if you are learning great things at the academy." Una closed her eyes. She had not told her family the truth. She had not told them that she had been rejected, that she had thrown away everything they gave her, that she was living in a broken ship, training alone in the dark. How could she tell them? How could she look her dying father in the eye and say that his sacrifice meant nothing? "Tell him I am doing well," she said quietly. "Tell him I am learning. I will." Tay looked at her carefully. "But Una, are you really okay? You look thin. And your hands," he squinted at the screen. "Are those bruises?" She hid her hands behind her back. "Training injuries. Nothing serious. The academy makes you train until you bruise." The academy. She stopped. The lie stuck in her throat. Tay waited. He had always been patient. Even when they were children, he would wait for her to find the right words. He never pushed. He never judged. Maybe that was why she finally told him the truth. "I left the academy," she said. "They would not train me. They said humans were too weak. So I left." The silence that followed was the longest of her life. "Where are you now?" Tay finally asked. "Station 12. I bought a ship. I have been training myself." "Training yourself?" "Una, that is." He stopped. She could see him processing the information. "That is either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. Probably both." But he was smiling again. Not a happy smile. A sad one. "You always were stubborn. I learned from you." "No, you were born that way." He leaned closer to the screen. "What do you need?" "What?" "You cannot train with nothing. You need equipment, weapons. What do you need?" Una shook her head. "Tay, you are already working double shifts. You cannot." "I asked what you need, not what I can afford." She wanted to argue. She wanted to tell him that she was fine, that she could handle this alone, that he should save his money for father's treatments, but she was not fine. She was falling apart. Every day, she got a little more injured, a little more exhausted, a little closer to breaking. Without proper equipment, without proper weapons, without proper medical supplies, She would never become what she needed to be. She would just be another weak human who tried and failed. Weapons, she said finally. Real ones. Not the training replicas I found in the garbage. And medical kits. The good kind that can heal broken bones. What about food? Food would be nice too. Tay nodded. I know some people. Smugglers who move supplies through the outer colonies. They owe me favors. I can get things sent to Station 12 without anyone asking questions. Tay, if you get caught, I will not get caught. I am careful. He grinned. And besides, if my sister is going to become a legendary warrior, she needs proper tools. Yuna felt something warm in her chest. Something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. Thank you, she whispered. Do not thank me. Just promise me something. Anything. Promise me you will not die alone on that ship. Promise me that whatever happens, you will come home. Even if you fail. Even if everything falls apart. Promise me you will come back to us. She looked at her brother's face on the screen. He was younger than her, but right now he seemed older, wiser, stronger. I promise, she said. 2 weeks later, a package arrived at Station 12. It came on a transport ship with no return address. The dock workers did not ask questions. They just dropped it in front of Yuna's ship and walked away. Inside the package, she found exactly what she had asked for. 3 combat knives, made of an alloy that could cut through most armor. 2 energy pistols, small enough to hide but powerful enough to kill. A medical kit with auto-heal injectors and bone-setting tools. And enough food packs to last her 3 months. There was also a note, written in Tay's messy handwriting. They don't understand us. Show them what we are made of. Yuna held the note for a long time. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. She would carry it with her always. A reminder of why she was doing this. That night, she began training with real weapons. It was different from before. The knives were heavier than she expected. The pistols had a kick that made her arms ache. She cut herself more times than she could count. She shot holes in the cargo hold walls. She made every mistake a beginner could make, but she did not stop. She trained through the pain. She trained through the exhaustion. She trained through the fear that whispered in her ear every night, telling her that she was foolish, that she was wasting her time, that she would never be good enough. She trained because she had no other choice. Weeks passed. Then months. The seasons changed on planets she would never visit. Wars started and ended in parts of the galaxy she would never see. The universe continued without her. And in the cargo hold on a broken ship, Yuna became something new. Her movements became faster, sharper, more precise. She learned how to use her small size as an advantage, slipping into spaces larger fighters could not reach. She learned how to read an enemy's movements before they made them, watching for the tiny shifts in weight and balance that predicted an attack. She bled almost every day. She broke 3 ribs, 2 fingers, and her left wrist. Each time, she used a medical kit to heal herself. Each time, she got back up and continued. The pain became familiar. Then it became a teacher. Every injury showed her what she was doing wrong. Every scar reminded her of a lesson learned. She was not following the Academy's teachings. She was creating her own. One night, she looked at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the person staring back at her. Her body was covered in scars. Her eyes were harder than before. Her hands, which used to shake when she held a weapon, were now steady and sure. She was not the same girl who had stood before the council. That girl had been hopeful and naive. She had believed that hard work and determination would be enough. This woman knew better. Hard work and determination were just the beginning. To survive in this galaxy, you needed more. You needed to understand darkness. You needed to accept pain. You needed to become something that others feared, not because you wanted power, but because power was the only language that the universe understood. Yuna picked up her knife and returned to training. She had a long way to go, but for the first time since leaving the academy, she felt like she was on the right path. Not a path that others had walked before her, but a new path. A human path, written in sweat and tears and blood. Her blood. And soon, perhaps the blood of others. She smiled at the thought. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had learned that kindness was a luxury. That mercy was a gift you gave to those who deserved it. The galaxy had not shown her mercy. The academy had not shown her kindness. So she would show them something else instead. She would show them what happened when you pushed a human too far. She would show them what happened when you told someone they could never succeed. She would show them what courage looked like. Real courage. Not the kind you read about in stories, but the kind that grew in dark places, fed by pain and desperation and the stubborn refusal to die. The summons came 3 weeks after Colony Hana 7. Yuna was still recovering when the message arrived. Her ribs had healed, thanks to the colony's medical supplies, but she still moved carefully. Pain had become such a constant companion that she barely noticed it anymore. The message was official. A transmission from the Galactic War Academy, stamped with the seal of the High Council. It requested her presence at the main chamber for a formal inquiry. The word requested was polite, but Yuna understood the truth. This was not a request. It was a command. She could have ignored it. She could have disappeared into the outer regions of the galaxy where the Academy's reach did not extend. She could have continued her training alone, fighting when needed, moving on when the attention became too much. But that would have been running. And Yuna was done running. She borrowed a transport ship from the colony and made the journey to the Academy's home world. It took 8 days through jump gates and relay stations. 8 days of waiting and wondering what would happen when she arrived. The Academy had not changed. The same dark metal walls. The same cold blue lights. The same feeling of ancient power and absolute certainty. But Yuna had changed. She walked through the corridors, not as a hopeful student seeking approval, but as something else entirely, a warrior who had proven herself in blood. The guards at the council chamber recognized her. Of course they did. Her face had been on every news feed for weeks. The human who killed 23 raiders alone. The woman who saved a colony while Academy graduates hid in fear. Some of the guards looked at her with curiosity, others with respect, a few with something that might have been hatred. She did not care about any of them. The doors opened, and she entered the chamber. The council was waiting. All 7 members sat on their elevated platforms, looking down at her just as they had before. But something was different this time. The pity in their eyes was gone. In its place was uncertainty, perhaps even fear. Aaron spoke first. His rocky voice echoed through the chamber. Yuna of Earth, you have been summoned to answer for your actions at Colony Hana 7. Answer? Yuna raised an eyebrow. I saved those people. What is there to answer for? You engaged in combat without authorization from any recognized military force. You used weapons without a proper license. You killed 23 beings without trial or legal justification. They were raiders. They were killing innocent people. What justification did they need to die? Vaughn leaned forward, his stone face hard. The law is clear. Only authorized personnel may engage in military action. You are not authorized. Therefore, your actions were illegal. So, I should have let them die? Let the raiders take what they wanted? Let your precious Academy graduates sit in their bunker while children were murdered. Silence filled the chamber. Yuna could see the tension in the council members. They knew she was right. They all knew. But admitting it would mean admitting that their entire system was flawed. Mira spoke next. Her forearms were folded, and her dark eyes studied Yuna carefully. We are not here to discuss the ethics of your actions. We are here to understand how you did what you did. How? All graduates of the colony reported that you moved faster than should be possible for a human. That you fought with techniques they had never seen. That you seemed to know where attacks were coming before they happened. Myra paused. These are not normal human abilities. There is nothing normal about me, Yuna said. Not anymore. Then explain. What did you do to yourself? What enhancements? What modifications? Yuna laughed. It was not a kind sound. You think I cheated? You think I used technology or drugs or genetic manipulation? She shook her head. I used nothing. I had nothing. Just a broken ship, some weapons my brother smuggled to me, and 18 months of training alone in the dark. Impossible, Kel said. The lights on his face blinked rapidly. Our analysis shows that human physical capabilities have defined limits. What you did exceeded those limits. Your analysis is wrong. Our analysis is based on 10,000 years of data. Then your data is incomplete. Yuna stepped forward. The guards around the chamber tensed, but she ignored them. You study species in controlled environments. You measure strength and speed and reflexes under normal conditions. But you never measure what happens when someone is pushed beyond their limits. When they have nothing left to lose. When dying is easier than failing. She looked at each council member in turn. Humans are not strong like your people. Vorn, we cannot see in the dark like yours, Myra. We do not process information like yours. Kel, but we have something none of you understand. And what is that? Orin asked. Desperation. The word hung in the air. When a human is desperate, when everything they love is threatened, when death is staring them in the face, something happens. Something changes. Our bodies push past their normal limits. Our minds become sharper, faster, clearer. We become capable of things that should be impossible. You speak of adrenaline responses, Morn said dismissively. All species have these. No, not like us. Your species evolved on worlds where you were the apex predators. You never had to fight for survival the way we did. You never had to kill beasts 10 times your size with nothing but sticks and stones. You never had to watch your family starve while you figured out how to find food in a frozen wasteland. Yuna's voice grew stronger. Humanity was born in blood. We survived ice ages that killed 90% of our population. We survived plagues that swept across continents. We survived wars against each other that lasted generations. Every single human alive today is descended from people who refused to die when everything said they should. Pretty words, Myra said. But words do not explain 23 dead raiders. No, training explains that. My training, not yours. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip. She threw it on the ground in front of the council. That contains everything I have learned in the past 18 months. Every technique, every method, every way I found to push past human limitations. You can study it, analyze it, try to understand it. Why would you give us this? Orin asked. Because I do not want to hoard knowledge. I want to share it. I want to train others like me. I want to create an army of humans who can fight like I fight. The council members looked at each other. Yuna could see the calculations happening behind their eyes. If she was telling the truth, if her methods could be replicated, it would change everything. Humans would no longer be the weak species that needed protection. They would become players in the galactic game of power. You wish to teach others? Vorn said slowly. That is the purpose of the academy. Perhaps we could allow you to instruct human students here. Under your supervision? Following your rules? Naturally, Una smiled coldly. No, no. You had your chance to teach me. You rejected me. You called me weak and sent me away. Now I come back having done what your best graduates could not, and you want to take control of what I built? She shook her head. I am not here to join your academy. I am not here to follow your ancient methods. I am here to tell you that the world is changing, and you can either change with it or be left behind. You dare to threaten us? Kel's lights flashed angrily. I am not threatening anyone. I am stating facts. There are humans all over the galaxy. Billions of us. Right now, most of them think they are helpless. They believe what you taught them, that they are too weak to fight, too fragile to matter. She pointed at the data chip on the floor. That chip will change everything. When humans learn what they are truly capable of, when they realize that their weakness was always a lie, they will rise. And nothing you do will stop them. We could destroy that chip right now, Mira said. You could. But I have copies. Hundreds of them. Hidden all over the galaxy. In places you will never find. The moment something happens to me, those copies will be released to every human colony, every station, every ship. The council fell silent. Una could see them reassessing her. She was not just a rogue warrior anymore. She was a threat. A real one. What do you want? Oren finally asked. His voice was tired, ancient. For the first time, Una realized how old he truly was. How many centuries he had sat on that platform, making decisions that affected billions of lives. I want recognition, she said. Not for myself, for my methods. I want the galaxy to know that there is another way to train warriors. A human way. I want other species to see what we can become when given the chance. And in exchange, I will not actively oppose the Academy. I will not try to destroy what you have built. I will simply offer an alternative. You would compete with us? Yes, and may the best methods win. Oren looked at the other council members. Some nodded. Others remained still. It was not unanimous, but it did not need to be. The decision had already been made the moment Una walked into this chamber. She had won, not because she was stronger than them, not because she had more power, but because she had something they did not have, proof. Proof that her way worked. Proof that the galaxy was not as simple as they believed. Very well, Oren said at last. The Academy will not interfere with your project. You may train humans as you see fit, using whatever methods you choose. But understand this. If your warriors fail, if they die because of inadequate training, the blood will be on your hands. The blood has always been on someone's hands, Una replied. At least now it will serve a purpose. She turned and walked toward the door. Una of Earth. Myra, 5 years had passed since the meeting at the Academy. The training facility on planet Dusk had started as nothing. An empty field on a forgotten world, far from the main shipping routes and political centers of the galaxy. Now it was something else entirely. A compound of buildings spread across 50 square kilometers, filled with recruits from every human colony in known space. Commander Una stood on the observation platform, watching the morning exercises below. 300 young humans moved through combat drills in perfect synchronization. Their bodies were covered in sweat. Their faces were tight with concentration. They were learning what she had learned, the hard way, in the cargo hold of a broken ship. They were learning to become weapons. Her second in command, a woman named Sue, joined her on the platform. Sue had been one of the first recruits, a factory worker from the Mayan colonies who had watched her parents die in a raider attack when she was 12. She had come to Una with nothing but hatred and determination. Now she was one of the most lethal fighters in the human military. The new batch is progressing well, Sue said. Faster than the last group. They have better instructors now. You and the others have learned how to teach. We learned from you. Yuna shook her head. I only showed you the door. You walked through it yourself. Below them, the recruits finished their drills and moved to the next exercise. This one involved live weapons. Dangerous but necessary. Yuna had learned early that training with fake weapons created fake warriors. Real combat required real stakes. News from the outer colonies, Sue said. Another raider group has been destroyed. Our graduates handled it without losing a single person. Which group? The Red Teeth. They had been terrorizing shipping lanes for decades. The Alliance military could never catch them. Our team tracked them down in 3 weeks. Yuna nodded. It was becoming a pattern. Problems that the official military could not solve were being handled by her warriors. At first, the Alliance had complained. They had called her troops vigilantes, criminals, threats to galactic order. Then the results started speaking for themselves. Colonies that had lived in fear for generations suddenly had protectors. Trade routes that had been too dangerous to travel were now safe. Species that had dismissed humans as weak and useless were learning to see them differently. The galaxy was changing, and Yuna was at the center of that change. Her communication device buzzed. She looked at the screen and saw a familiar face. She stepped away from Sue and accepted the call. Her brother's image appeared, older now, with gray starting to show in his hair. He was smiling. Commander, he said. How formal you have become. Tay, it is good to see you. You always say that, and then you disappear for months. I have responsibilities. I know. The whole galaxy knows. His smile faded slightly. Father would be proud. He always believed in you. Yuna felt the familiar ache in her chest. Their father had died 3 years ago, just a few months before the first class of warriors graduated from her program. He had never seen what she had built, never known that his sacrifice had meant something. But maybe, somehow, he did know. Maybe he was watching from wherever people went when they left this universe. How is Mother? She asked. Better. She moved back to Earth last year. Bought a small house near the mountains. She says she is tired of living in space. I should visit her. You should. But not today, I think. You have more important things to do. Yuna looked back at the training field. The recruits were now engaged in sparring matches, fighting each other with controlled intensity. Each one of them had a story. Each one had lost something or someone that drove them to this place. Each one was becoming something more than they had been. The Academy sent another message, Tay said. They want to establish a formal partnership. Share training methods, exchange instructors, combine research. What did you tell them? I told them you would consider it. I will not consider it. Yuna. They had their chance. They rejected us. They called us weak and sent us away. Now that we have proven them wrong, they want to be friends? She shook her head. No, we do not need their approval. We do not need their validation. We are building something new. Something ours. Tay sighed. You have not changed. Still stubborn. Still angry. The anger keeps me focused. It will also burn you out if you are not careful. She looked at her brother's face on the screen. He had always been the calm one, the reasonable one, the one who smoothed things over and found compromises. Without him, she might have destroyed herself years ago. I will be careful, she said. I promise. You promised that before, and I am still here. He laughed. True enough. Take care of yourself, Commander. The galaxy still needs you. The call ended. Yuna put away her device and returned to the observation platform. Sue was waiting. The afternoon group is requesting permission to start the survival exercise early. Denied. They need to rest. Exhaustion makes mistakes, and mistakes kill people. I will inform them. Sue left. Yuna remained on the platform, watching her warriors train. 5 years ago, she had been alone. A rejected student with nothing but anger and determination. Now she commanded thousands. Her methods were being studied and copied across the galaxy. Human warriors were becoming famous for their courage, their adaptability, their absolute refusal to surrender. The academy still existed. It still trained warriors the old way, following doctrines that were thousands of years old. But its monopoly on military knowledge was broken. There was another path now, a human path, and every day more people chose to walk it as the sun began to set on planet dusk. Yuna made her daily rounds through the facility. She visited the medical center, where injured warriors were recovering from training accidents. She visited the strategy rooms, where instructors planned the next phase of exercises. She visited the memorial wall, where the names of fallen graduates were carved in stone. There were too many names. Each one represented a person she had trained, a person who had believed in her methods, a person who had died fighting for what they believed in. She touched the wall gently. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I am sorry I could not save you all." But she knew they would not want her apologies. They would want her to continue, to train more warriors, to make sure their deaths meant something. So she did. That night, a new group of recruits arrived. 50 young humans from colonies across the galaxy. They stood in the courtyard, nervous and uncertain, looking up at the woman who would shape them into weapons. Yuna walked among them, studying their faces. She saw fear. She saw hope. She saw the same desperation that had driven her to this path years ago. "You are here because you want to be strong," she said. Her voice carried across the courtyard. "You are here because someone told you that humans are weak, and you refuse to believe it. You are here because you want to protect the people you love." She stopped in front of a young man. He was small, thin, with nervous eyes. He looked like he had never fought anything in his life. "What is your name?" she asked. "Hyan," he said. His voice shook slightly. "Why are you here, Hyan?" "Raiders destroyed my colony when I was 15. I hid in a storage container while they killed everyone I knew. My parents, my sister, my friends." He swallowed hard. "I do not want to hide anymore." Yuna nodded. His story was familiar. Too familiar. Every recruit had a version of it. "You will learn to fight," she said. "But more than that, you will learn to survive. You will learn to push past every limit your body and mind try to place on you. You will learn to become something that the galaxy fears." She turned to address the entire group. "The training will be hard. Some of you will want to quit. Some of you will break. That is okay. This path is not for everyone. But those who make it through will be changed forever. You will not be the same weak, frightened people who arrived here today. You will be warriors. Human warriors. The most dangerous kind." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The galaxy looks at us and sees weakness. They see small bodies and soft skin and short lives. They think we are nothing. They are wrong." Her voice grew stronger. "We are not nothing. We are the children of 1,000 generations of survivors. Our ancestors killed beasts with their bare hands. They crossed oceans on wooden ships. They walked on the moon when the rest of the galaxy did not even know we existed. We have conquered every challenge our world threw at us. And we will conquer every challenge the universe throws at us too." She looked at each recruit in turn. "You are not here to learn how to fight like other species. You are here to learn how to fight like humans. With courage, with creativity, with the absolute certainty that giving up is not an option. She drew one of her knives and held it up. The blade caught the moonlight, gleaming silver in the darkness. This knife has killed more enemies than I can count. It has tasted the blood of raiders and slavers and pirates and anyone else who threatened innocent people. It is just a piece of metal, but in the right hands, it becomes something more. It becomes hope. She sheathed the knife. You are all just pieces of metal right now, unforged, unsharpened, unready. But when you leave this place,